Okay, good afternoon, the traders, wherever you may be joining us from. Welcome to this. This is the TOGS trading podcast number one. A few of you might see a couple of the test ones we did back in 2023, but here we are in 2024, starting off a new podcast in a new year. So happy New Year to all of you, wherever you're joining us from. I hope this is going to be a great trading year for you. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a rather eventful one with everything that's going on in the world itself. So, for those who are joining us for the first time, my name's Paulus. I've traded for many years. I'll do more of an introduction maybe later on. Traded for many years. Okay, I've traded for funds, traded for clients. I've basically coached and mentored traders over the years. I tend to be a trend trader for sort of longer term swing and position trades, and I tend to be a mean reversion and reversal trader for my intraday FX trading. So that's enough about me for the moment. But I'm going to be joined by my friend Ian and stuff. So I'll from sunny, for it's clearly sunny Dublin this lunchtime and
Yeah,
stuff. So looking good, Billy Ray. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks very much. I suppose I should introduce myself as well. My name is Ian McFadden, and I've been a professional retail trader for 14 years. I am a fib trader, primarily, and I am a day trader or scalper, more to the point. So I spend all day basically playing computer games on my computer with the stock market. So my average hold time is tiny, and I do quite a lot of trades during the day, and I've been doing that for 14 years,
There you
basically.
go. Fabulous, fabulous. All right,
Mm.
excellent. So, how's 2024 been for you so far? Then, Ian. Okay, how's it? Have you eased yourself back into the markets?
It did actually. It was quite. I really quite enjoyed actually the first few days of trading this
Yeah.
year. One thing I did is I managed to put up my position size, which was a nice thing for me, and I've been trading away at that position size. And what that made me do, because I always used to, I was doing a lot of not trying to add to positions because a lot of times with scalping, there's always a problem with adding to positions because you have to be so particular
Yeah.
that sometimes you're wrong and the margins are so small that you'll end up adding slightly lower because you're still in the same zone. You might just have picked the wrong place, or you might be in the same, have the same idea, but that idea might need a little bit more room. So it add. But I've been doing really, I haven't had to add for the last week or so. So it's been quite interesting. It's been psychologically really interesting because I was sitting there when I'm roughly double what my position size was. And what I find is that I'm getting into trades, and then you're really quickly at what you would normally expect to get out of a trade. And you're sitting there going, okay, I'm after making whatever amount of money out of this trade. And you sort of want to get kicked out. You want to get out of it because you're used to making that much money. And I find that probably is the biggest one of the biggest changes is that there's that little psychological thing where you're like, oh well, I'm used to making X amount of dollars or euros, and now I've made that dollars or euros just quicker. I want to leave the trade, but it's been quite good. I really enjoyed it. It's a nice period. I mean, you have ups and downs in trading all the time, and this is one of the up periods where you're relaxed and it's fun and that stuff basically. And yourself?
Excellent. Well, actually, do you know what? We might come back to that a little bit later in
Okay.
terms of talking about, starting the year and about
Mm,
changing position size, because that kind of leads us into sort of just explain to people um, how this has come around
mm,
and what our kind of aim is for the TOGS Trading podcast. So, we've been mates for what it must be about 10 years or so now, and
close enough, yeah, I'd say.
we have we have invested many an afternoon and many an evening sat in Dublin, some of Dublin's finest pubs, sort of chatting about trading
Mm,
and life and a whole host of other
yeah.
subjects and stuff in general and what have you. And I bang on at people all the time about how important it is to actually have a network of other traders around you. Nobody understands your
Mm,
journey quite like another
mm,
trader. Go and meet up, have a pint of coffee, whatever it is, all right, and just actually get out. And we've done that for 10 years and realized that
yeah.
that actually, maybe our conversations from all of our experience could be shared with other people. All right.
Mm,
So
mm,
hence we find here. And also both of us have basically seen over that last 10 years this kind of proliferation of let's say, social media wannabes and influencers who clearly aren't traders, but invariably are spending their days living in Lambos in fancy places. Okay, living it up as if
Mm,
kind of there's some sort of trading god. And actually, we wanted to show in this podcast that
mm,
in fact that is not the life. All right, that is not the life of the
mm.
trader. Okay, there are many benefits and there are many great things part of it. But if you're coming new to trading and because you've seen some of those social media influencer accounts on Instagram and the likes and stuff and whatever, and if that's what's kind of driving you towards trading,
Mm.
yeah, well, I think your trading journey is going to be quite different. So the whole aim of this podcast is to
Mm.
share our experience and also just give insight into basically what it is like the journey of a trader, and to realize that it doesn't matter how long you've been trading, there are always challenges, aren't there? There is always
Yeah,
challenges. There are always
absolutely.
some things you're working on. There's always something you're trying to get better at,
Mm.
and actually managing that how you manage that is hugely
Mm.
important. Anything to say on that, Ian?
Yeah, I think a lot of the reason that guys follow those types of traders, you see the guy with the, as you say, with the rented Lamborghini and the tattoo sleeves, is because an awful lot of younger men are looking for status bump, and they're looking for that status bump by coming into trading and trying to get in there. Because I think I even said that in the last one. I think it's so difficult for young men now because if you don't have money and you don't have that sort of status thing, life just isn't what it isn't what it was. And I think that that's one of the big reasons why they would follow people like that, because they are portraying, that sitting beside the pool. And I mean, I tried to trade beside a pool in Switzerland once, and the sun just kept blocking out my laptop the screen, and that's the reality of it. And then I was thinking, because I know a lot of traders, and I'm really quite the cliche trader that I would know, which is that sort of middle-aged man who's come to it as a second career, who's at it for quite a long time. And the lifestyle is, I mean, it's a great lifestyle. For instance, I have a 6, 7 year old at home today. He's been bribed to stay downstairs with biscuits and cartoons while I do this. But you're able to instantly change your day. You're not bringing up somebody. You're not having to ask for permission from someone to take your time off. You can still achieve some of your goals for the day. You can get some of your work done, and I think that's really the lifestyle. I think it's the most family friendly job that you can possibly have. And I think that's a great one. And I think that a lot of the stuff that I've seen on podcasts and things like that, and from YouTube channels, paint a very unrealistic picture of what trading is. I think because I think the first thing when I was sitting down, because when I was preparing, thinking about that question, like it felt like I was getting ready for a job interview, and the first thing would love to say about trading is that I'm a survivor, really.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
one of the things I think with trading is that you have to survive long enough to actually learn how to be a trader. And I think it's a real big sort of thing about being able to survive that long time without blowing up your account, or what I've also seen as well is that a lot of traders, because as you know, I had a meetup group in Dublin, and then I had 400 traders or something like that, or whatever it is in the thing. And I've talked to a huge amount of newer traders, and the progression and the steps they go through are generally all the same. Um, and what ends up happening to them is that a lot of them drop away at various stages. So you have the first stage where people go in and it's really exciting because you're learning loads of stuff. You really think you're progressing. On a Tuesday you didn't know what a trend line was, and by Friday you know what a fractal is or something. It's really this big huge progress, and then you think that they can't be that long until you start making money. And there's that really exciting phase at the beginning. It's the honeymoon phase of trading, really. And then it starts moving into this almost valley of death, which I always think, which can take whatever length of time, because it's up to the trader how fast the trader can change themselves into being the person who can change to being doing those uncomfortable things to need to be a trader. And that's where you lose an awful lot of traders. But if you know what the steps are or what the stages are, and I don't see a lot of people ever talking about the stages of trading. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen anybody talk about the stages of trading, to be quite honest with you, what you literally go through. it makes it easier to when you're having trouble and when you're down and when you're struggling, because there's a point that comes with trading where you have 4 years put into it. You haven't made 20 euros in reality because you've been up a few days and then you're up for 3 months and then suddenly it's all gone overnight or in four trades or something like that. You've lost all your previous profit. And that can be destructive. Like it can be really quite a tough thing. And then you have your family and your friends, you're sort of slightly embarrassed because you're not the one that you're not making it. You're 4 or 5 years sitting in front of your computer and you're still not making it. And then there's the end bit as well, which is I always think is one of the frustrating bits of it, which is just before you become consistent. And becoming consistent is a funny experience. Is there's something really small that you're doing, or there's 4 or 5 things that are really small and subtle, and they're just putting you off slightly. It's like those weights you get on a car wheel when it's just putting you off slightly, and that can be really frustrating because fundamentally you're there, but there's just some little thing that you're doing you're doing a little bit too much over trading. You're slightly too sloppy in your entries. You're not filtering your trades properly. Just something small that you're doing, and that's why I think why I'd use the word survivor, because you have to survive all those stages, and then you become consistent. And then it takes you about 2 months or 3 months to realize that you're actually consistent, because you sort of go one day. I remember that when I turned consistent, it was like I was trading away, and then I went, "Geez, I haven't lost money in ages." And suddenly I was consistent. And I did have episodes like where I lost money after that, but it was different. It was for a reason. It was for a reason I could point a finger at. I was wrong about something or whatever. It wasn't because I was making trading mistakes. So I'd say Survivor is a good, a good
Fantastic.
descriptor of people who've.
No, there's definitely a couple of points there to build on.
Mm,
Yeah, SAP is what I talk to people about. Survive, acquire, prosper. And that first element is to survive. Now, I've always talked about that. There is that kind of those kind of rules, that kind of
mm,
triple 90 rule. 90% of people lose 90% of their money within the first 90 days of opening a trading account. And that is a pretty brutal, all right. That's a
mm,
pretty brutal hurdle for people to get over. And as I said, 90% of people don't, and those 90%, quite often it's because they've come to trading for the wrong reasons anyway. They
mm,
haven't educated themselves. They've watched maybe two clips on YouTube and think, "Hang on a minute, I'll have a bit of this. Look at that. I fancy sitting in the sitting in my Lambo or trading from the beach." And a bit like yourself, yeah, I've traded from the beaches in the Seychelles. It's overrated. It's I did it once, and it's overrated as an
mm,
experience. When you go on holiday, go on holiday. When you trade, trade.
mm,
Keep them separate. But yeah, survive, acquire, prosper. You need to survive that first brutal learning curve. And really, the way you do that is through risk management, okay? Ensuring that you are position sizing, that you are trading with stops, etc., to ensure that you survive long enough to move on to that next stage, which is to acquire the skills. All right. You are trading to learn, not trading to earn. All right. You need to acquire those skills. And it is acquiring those skills that allows the final element to prosper. So SAP, survive, acquire, prosper. The challenge you have is that acquire and prosper bit is, it's related to that question that kind of constantly asked, which is, how long does it take to become profitable as a trader? And that is the really, how long is a piece of string? Because everybody's life is different. The variables that come into that are massively different,
mm.
right? And so some people will crack it within 6 months. Okay, not many, but
No,
some
no,
will.
no. I
But
was
others,
just
it
saying,
might be
I had
six
one that did
years.
it in
It might be
three.
10 years.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
had one
and
person do it in 3 months.
yeah, there you go and stuff. And it's that's the kind of place we are and stuff. It is about your situation will be different from everybody else's. There are things that you can do to help yourself with that, and maybe that's a conversation for a different session for a different day. Okay, but yeah, it is a part of that is about how willing you are to undergo change, to modify your behaviors, I would feel. And you know the young men who come into trading, some of them are quite good at that, a lot of them are not good at that. Okay, it takes a bit of time to sort of, let's say, knock the edges off them. Now, if they had been working in, let's say, a normal job, whether it be a corporate job or, whether it be, I don't know, agriculture or working in a factory or whatever, there is a peer group around you. You have bosses, okay, you have supervisors who will channel you and forward you and knock the edges off you to shape you into to being what they need to get that job done. When you're sat at home training on your own, most people they don't have that. All right, they don't have that. So basically, they're making mistakes, but they don't even know they're making mistakes, and then they just basically double down on those making those mistakes, and before you know it, they're off in a very dark and dodgy place. Hence why we both run meetup groups, okay, all right, is hence why, keep saying just get out from behind the screens and come and have a chat with other traders, all right, just even like building a little buddies network of a couple of mates around you that can actually just help each other, okay, become the best traders you can be. It's what worked for me. I often talk about me, Steve, my mate Steve, and a few others. We had a Brick Lane Curry Club many, many, many years ago. And we'd literally meet one Saturday evening in Brick Lane, which in London, if you don't know, is in London. It's just got great curry houses, just basically loads of curry houses, and we would just meet up there, bring printouts of our trades for the last month, okay, and there'd be about 5 or 6 of us, and we'd just sit around, have a curry, have a couple of beers, talk about our trades and stuff, talk about our challenges, talk about what we were working on, and it was very informal, and it was just like complete strangers. We didn't know it. We don't really come, but I'm still mates with them nearly like 20 years later and stuff and what have you, because it helped. It worked having that kind of little network around it, and so hopefully maybe this podcast will actually help people realize that it's a journey, that it's a personal journey, all right, in terms of it'll take as long as it takes for you, but that actually you are not unique, all right. Everybody has pretty similar challenges, as you said, and it's about finding ways to get over them and finding ways to basically overcome those obstacles, rather than um, going off down cul-de-sacs, which we've all done on our trading journeys, haven't we? And you've all gone down a cul-de-sac thinking this is the way forward, and it turns out to be a bit of a false dawn, doesn't it?
Mm. What I found as well, I was just thinking about it there when you were saying it, just the length of time that it takes somebody to become a trader. The fastest I've ever had, because I mentored a few people in my time, but I just did it for fun and did it for free. And I've had a lot of people that just don't manage to do whatever. They have a lot of, and it's not that they're not intelligent enough. It's not that they're not dedicated enough. It's that they're just something is on in them is that usually it's fear of some sort. They just can't get
Mhm.
over fear,
Yeah.
and they get under a lot of pressure. Then their wives are looking at them, and their friends are looking at them, and then they eventually buckle under that and get a job, or give up trading, or go and do something else. And I've had one do it in 3 months, from naught to three in 3 months, go from nothing to consistent, or
Mhm.
4 months, 3 or 4 months was very short, but that was. And then I've had a lot of military guys. A lot of military guys are quite good that have come through because a lot of the time what they would do is that you would tell them what to do. They were used to being told what to do, and then they would go away and do it, and then they come back next week and they'd have a reason why they had or had not achieved whatever goal that you had set out for them the week before. But it was a realistic reason. It wasn't. I went to the bar and I had too many hangovers to get this done. It was because I couldn't understand this point of it or something like that. There's also thing as well from what you were saying. A lot of guys when they come into trading, they don't have an image. They have an image of what it is from watching things like The Wolf of Wall Street, where they think it's this high pressured, yeah, you're on the edge of your chair for the whole time, and it's not that. Because if you're on the edge of your chair the whole time, my cardiologist will give out to me at this stage. It would be you can't live like that. You can't do
No.
14 years of that type of stress. It's just too much for somebody. So it's not that type of job. And one of the other things I saw with them as well is that a lot of guys, when they come into it, they commit money before they commit to learning. And I remember going to when Bitcoin was in its heyday, and I was running meetups at the time, and I couldn't get people to come. I was usually having 20 people or something would go, or something like that would go to my meetup group, and then suddenly there was 4 people to turn up, and I went to a Bitcoin meetup one night just for something to do, And there was 150 men between the age of 28 and 32, all standing there. And the guy was up at the thing, up the front anyway, giving a lecture, and they had a chart up. And and they were going on, and then the price came up to here, and then the price came up to here again, and we don't know why I turned around. And I was like in my head and saying it was a double top. It was something I'd see every day in work, but they hadn't the management skills or the trading skills to be able to manage positions based on how the position was actually working. So they were trying to trade it and invest it. They were trying to do too many things at the same time, and inevitably, then they ended up losing. And then what would happen is that the price would pull back. Then the pain would be too much for them to let go of the investment, and then they'd hope that it would go on and so forth. And a lot of them got wiped out. And I think that killed a generation of potential retail traders. A lot of guys who would have gone on eventually to try with stocks and shares and futures and stuff like that just blew up in Bitcoin and decided that they'd never touch it again. And it was the death of a generation, really, I think, of traders. But I think a lot of the time they just don't have that image of, because it's not in the media. I mean, there's nothing you're going to see with traders in it that has, the realistic, go watch Billions or something, where they're just up to devious things. They're not sitting down looking at a set of charts. So I think there isn't, I think that's one big thing that happens, guys, is that they come in, they'll commit to putting their money in. They have this image of what their future is going to be like and how they're going to do this based on watching The Wolf of Wall Street and Billions or whatever other TV show they've watched, and then they just can't do it. Where at least we, because this is what we actually do, know what the actual lifestyle is of trading. And I think that that's something that's and the things that you actually have to be conscious of, of managing your family, managing your time, managing your energy, um, all those things that are realistic needs that you actually have if you actually want to trade for a living or trade at least to some degree profitably. I think that that's one big thing that we might have over a lot of other ones. And I'm not there to try and portray that it's this wonderful lifestyle where you end up with flying around the country in helicopters or whatever. I've done quite well out of trading. I'm really quite happy with trading. I own everything I need to own, and I'll retire quite nicely. But it's a particular type of lifestyle, and the better idea you have of what that lifestyle is, the better you be prepared for what you need to actually do. So it is.
Yeah, the it's an interesting point that you make about that kind of, let's say, that Bitcoin generation, that kind of well, what would you call them, maybe generation one, Gen 1 Bitcoin traders and stuff. A lot
Yeah.
of people who got drawn into, what would it have been, about 2017 when it started to break
Right.
out and start
Yeah.
to rally up really strongly
Even
and
a bit.
stuff. And
Yeah.
as you said, um, people were making money. They were just in the right place at the right time. They
Yeah.
didn't have any trading skills, and and they basically got a thought of it. And I can remember. I think it was like the last Friday before Christmas, the last Sunday night before Christmas, where Bitcoin got put onto the CME and stuff. And I watched it, and
Mm,
it basically gapped up to just under. I think it was around, was it about 20,000 and stuff. On a Sunday night, opened up, gapped up, and I was like, "This is madness.
mm,
This is stopping." And actually, that was the peak of it for there. It dropped down, back down to about 3,000 and stuff.
mm,
And as you say, I think an awful lot of people came late to that party. They're probably buying at 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, twenty
mm,
thousand, and then when it collapsed down to 3,000, they got wrecked. And there was lots of stories around there of kids who'd used their university loans, maxed out credit cards, all trying to buy, and they'd all bought at the top, and then invariably they got rinsed and what have you. So yeah, as you said, I would agree with you. I think maybe that there was a generation there who, some of them who made money and made it too easily, didn't really understand what they were doing. And then
mm,
actually, once that market turned, and actually once you had to really understand how to trade, a lot of those people got washed away. But to
mm,
be fair, there were a few lads who cottoned on really quickly and
mm,
realised actually they need to learn how to trade properly, and have done very, very well for themselves, and fair play, good,
mm,
good for them. But yeah, you need those trading skills, and those trading
mm,
skills, they take time to acquire, and they probably take time to acquire based on how how quickly you will modify your behavior. It's a case of, I try and tell people is that markets are just like the ocean, right? They're just doing their thing, they're back and forth doing their thing, right? The thing is, it's your job to get in alignment with the ocean, with the market. The market doesn't get in alignment with you, and that's where people get into difficulty. I think I might have said this in previous sessions, is that you know, youngsters today, they grow up with a device in their hand that allows them to control so much of their life. They can control the heat, the light. Okay, they can order their food from it. Okay, if they're hungry, they can, if they can order drink. Okay, in a bar, you can order drink from your phone, etc. They have become given this ability to control their social
Mm.
environment, their physical environment around it, that it gives them, they're in a little bit of a bubble of denial. They think they can control everything, and they think they can come to markets and control markets.
Mm.
It doesn't work like that. They get disabused of that notion pretty quickly,
Mm.
because actually you can't. It's you have to change. You have to change to get in line with what the market wants in terms of what it needs you to do to be able to be successful. And not everybody's well. I believe everybody is capable of that change. Whether they choose to make that change is another matter. Is another matter entirely. And I know I've had to, over periods and stuff, I've had to, change in terms of, the way I go about my business, the way I do things and stuff. And it's yeah, it's you. The change has to come from within you, doesn't it?
Mm. Well, I think, yeah, actually, I was just thinking about Bitcoin there where you were saying it, because I mean, if you think about Bitcoin and the mentality at the time, I mean, they had HODL, that hold on for dear life as a concept. Like, I mean, that is in trading, that is the dumbest thing you could possibly ever do. Like, I'm going to hold this to the moon. It's going up to the
Yeah,
moon. I have made because you've made a decision about something based on what you think is true. It's just bananas, really, to be quite honest with you. It's the I don't know. I just couldn't. I just that Bitcoin thing was a moment in time. I've never traded Bitcoin actually. I don't think I might have put on one contract once ever in the actual Bitcoin contracts, but I've never actually traded Bitcoin because I just thought it was too volatile. I never really particularly liked it
yeah,
because I don't need volatility. That I don't need that style of volatility. I need some volatility, but I don't need that much volatility. I want to have it because the problem with volatility is it can roll over you.
yep,
If you go in and you look at the ES or something like that, it's actually quite mild in its volatility in relation to a lot of other things, and I find that that's quite a good thing. Like, but you were saying there is everybody capable of making the changes for trading? I think if they give it enough time, I think there's a real time element in that and resilience in it, because I think inevitably anybody can be a trader if they have a certain amount of if you have at least a basic intelligence and a basic there isn't some sort of mental issue going on with you. If you're a good average person, you can, if given enough time, if given enough training, if you're able to get the right resources together, yeah, you can become a trader. But I've had a lot of guys that come in who are just gamblers, and they want to go in and they just want to gamble in a different way. It depends. It depends on everybody's individual problem. Like, I mean, I had in my own journey, like, I mean, I had to overcome quite a lot of fear. That was my biggest thing, like, because I didn't like losing money. I really had a big problem with losing money. And, it takes a long time, and I still have that fear of losing money. I mean, I'm really good at taking heat, but and I'm really good at taking heat because I really hate losing money, at the end of the day. And I think that's the other reason behind it. But yeah, and I think one of the other things actually, which is quite good about us and Protect our podcast, is we're a little bit older than the average person that's doing a lot of the podcasts, and I think that gives a certain maturity, and a lot of these, because I think as you get older, you just do understand more about life, and you do understand more things. You've been through more cycle. If it's just the market, you've been through more market
yeah,
cycles. You've seen the market change. Like I'm trading nearly since before YouTube existed. I mean, it was a different world when I was trading. When I started off trading first, it was completely different. Even stocks even behaved in a different way when I started off. It was dare I say it, I wasn't as good as I am now, but the stock market was easier
Yeah,
15
yeah. I
years.
think that's probably a good way to describe it. Yeah.
Yeah. If I was as good as I am now back then, I would be as happy as Larry, like, but
Yeah.
yeah, because I mean, there used to be like stuff like Apple and the regularity that with how it
Yeah.
used to follow technical analysis was brilliant. Like, it was really, really good. And you didn't need as, but then to get because you didn't have YouTube really, or you didn't have that sort of resources, you couldn't go online to find out an awful lot of stuff. Yeah, I actually had to buy physical books. And then I went
Yeah.
out and I paid for a chat room to go and meet other professional traders. And that's how I got my start basically was trying to talk to other professional traders and reading books and then just experimentation.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't the online resources that there are now, which
Yeah.
maybe good, maybe it's bad, I don't know. But yeah, that
No,
was
I'd agree with you. There used to be, this is probably wouldn't make much to yourself in, but there used to be like on Oxford Street in London, used to be like a huge Borders bookstore, and it's like about 4 or 5 floors. It was a great bookstore. I
okay.
miss that, and and they had a great section
Mm,
on trading and investment. But Jesus, the books were expensive. Do you know what I mean? You weren't getting a trading book for like less than 60 quid a go 20 years
yeah,
ago and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
The thing is, there was no other option in those days, not really, and
yeah.
stuff. And that's what you had to do. You had to learn, and there was
Mm,
a good deal of trial and error. And it comes back to that point of just lasting long enough. And I
mm,
know you talked about you didn't like losing money. For me, it wasn't necessarily the losing money. It was the losing, all right, that I didn't like, and that was, I think I might have said before that was driven by my Air Force background. Okay, being the battle manager as a fire controller,
mm,
you sit in front of screens watching coloured bricks, race around schemes just like traders, and that in itself is a story. But invariably, because you're looking at screens, you're looking at the bomber aircraft that are coming, and the first people they want
mm,
to kill are you, the command and control guys. So
mm,
you have to do your job exceptionally well, right?
mm,
Because if you don't guide those fighters into the intercept to get the missiles away at them, well then they are coming to kill you.
mm,
So it hones your edge. Right, it hones your edge, okay, because you can't afford to lose because the consequence for failure is so very, very high.
mm,
Now, part of that is good and is a good side from to bring to trading, but another side of I had to unlearn and realize that actually no, it's just a losing trade. All right, you've just lost a bit of time, you've lost a bit of money. Um, the money you can get back if you do a proper debrief and learn from that trade, well then you haven't really lost the time you've invested in being better going forward. But I had
mm,
to unlearn that fear of loss, okay, that fear of losing. All right, I had to
mm,
realize that actually it's just one trade, all right? It's just one trade in what is in a career is going to be thousands of
mm,
trades. The whole idea is that you should never be in a position where one trade could determine your career. If you're going to, it should be a losing trade that can steer you rather than sink you. And quite often I see new traders, I've seen loads of experiences like new traders. They do a course, set up like 20 grand trading account, and they risk 60% of it on their first trade, and it goes wrong, and then they risk the last 40% of their account trying to get back the 60% they lost in the first account, and that
mm,
goes wrong, and within 3 trades, their trading career is done, and they've blown their account.
mm,
And I
mm,
just, for me, who come from an environment where risk management was always unbelievably important.
mm,
I found that absolutely shocking. Still to this day, I just how educated, intelligent people like doctors, dentists, etc., who you would expect to have a professional outlook, they can just lose it and act irrationally and blow up accounts, etc., just within a few trades, and it's just it's madness, isn't it?
mm.
It's absolute madness.
But I think that's part of the thing when you were saying that I was thinking because if you look at the media stuff, like if you go and watch a film about anything, what you're told is the hero takes the big risk. He's the one who can sit there and takes the big risk. And a lot of people walk into trading with that concept like that the winner is the one who takes the risk. And if he takes a big enough risk and he can hold his metal together and you know beat the
Yeah.
man or whatever it was. That's how he was going to come out ahead. So they were going in and like, I mean, I did it when I started off first. I put everything into trades, and I remember coming out like with tens of thousands of euros, going, "This is amazing." But that only lasts for a certain length of time as well, because you can get away with one time, you can get away with two times, but you're not getting away with it three times. And you suddenly get this, I've just lost tens of thousands of euros. But I think that that's one reason why people do that is that the media kind of shows you that sort of thing and they're also they're not looking for money a lot of the time. A lot of the time these people are people who are coming into trading are looking for an emotional high. They're looking for that sort of gambler's high.
Yeah.
And that's the impression I get a lot of times with span new traders is that they're coming in, they're putting the money on, it's like watching a horse race then for them. And nobody pays you to watch a horse race, but they sit there and they'll watch the horse race and they're either winning or they're losing. And that's one of the big reasons that I think that they just tend to not survive that like one, two, or three. And a lot of them are just underfunded. And I think what I find a lot is that they feel that they're under such pressure to make money and they want it for that emotional high. I mean, this is one of the things that I find when I'm talking to newer traders that I really have to beat into them is that there's a point in your career that comes when it's about making a living. Then there's a point of a career when it's about a point in your career that comes when it's about making a fortune. And but before those points, it's about your process and about nothing else. And if you can't, get to learn and love the process and love the reward yourself for doing well. I exited exactly here where I should have exited. I held my nerve here where I should have actually held my nerve. I did this, I did that. And if you can't reward yourself for those things outside of money, you're always going to have a bit of a problem with it because I think chasing money, and they think they're missing trades. Like, I mean, the most common thing in trading are trades. There's always trades. You're not never missing opportunity because they'll always come again. There's always going to be the same setup is going to come. If it's not going to come today, it's going to come in 3 days' time. And before you have the skill, the only thing you're missing is risk. You're only risking because you're putting on your money. You don't have the skill to manage the money, and now you're just accumulated risk into your life. You have not. You're not doing anything. You're not doing anything else. So I just, the it's a very, they're like turtles. You see those nature programs and all the turtles are little baby turtles are trying to go into and they'll get picked off. And that's the problems that picks them off is usually trying to make money. And when I ever take anybody in, if I'm doing any mentoring with them or doing any help with them, it's stop trying to make money. Try to make the trade and do it for the minimum amount. If you can make €5 a week, you can make 5,000 a week. It's not, there isn't a difference in such there isn't liquidity and people can argue the point of it, but generally if you can make 5 or 10 quid a week in a spread betting platform and you can do that consistently, you can make whatever you want to make in the future. So process first.
And I think it's worth commenting. Even um, we are commenting on here. Probably made a few comments there about young fellas coming into it and saying the mistakes they make and what have you. We are not in any way against them. We were them ourselves at one point and stuff. And I know we've had evenings where we've discussed about how you know if we were 21 again, like a 21-year-old. At 21, I was an Air Force officer. I was on quick reaction alert and stuff and
Mm,
whatever. But if I could, there just wasn't the opportunity that there is now to be able to engage and trade with markets and stuff. I think it is an unbelievably amazing opportunity,
mm,
even in the sense that to comment on what you said is that when I first started trading FX, you were in at standard lot, standard contract, $10 a pip. Okay, you were in, which meant your risk management, everything had to be on top of that. These days with mini lots, micro lots, you can have live exposure at least, for the
yeah,
price of a cup of coffee or price of a pint in Temple Bar and stuff. What's that, about €8-9 these days and stuff? It's kind of but in terms of gaining, as when you are trading to learn, having that exposure and being able to make your mistakes cheaply, I think is
mm,
just unbelievable
Yeah.
unbelievable opportunity that exists for the 21-year-old lad rather than the
I really
51-year-old
think
fella,
those might
and
be.
stuff that we had. It's an amazing opportunity,
Yeah. I mean,
absolutely amazing opportunity, I think. And the thing is that, I speak to the 21-year-old lads and say, listen, give yourself 10 years, and you could be an amazing trader. But at 21, the thought of, at 21, 31 sounds like you're ancient, that, you're over the hill, you're
mm,
done, you're ready for the old people's home and stuff,
mm,
because you want it here and now, because we were all like that when we were 21. But, as I said, we're not getting at young lads, but we just think it is an amazing opportunity, an
mm,
amazing
mm,
opportunity that these people have. But you just need to do it. You just need to do it right, work on building a process that'll allow you to just give yourself a chance, isn't it? Give yourself a chance.
because one of the things I think about that, those micro lots are probably one of the biggest things that's happened for learning trading in the last since I started anyway. Because when I started off, I had to go with full bloody contracts in,
Yeah,
and that was expensive. When I
yeah,
was in, like I was well funded now when I started off. I'd made money before and doing other things, so I was relatively well funded compared to the average guy that went into it. But it was expensive. You were 4 points was $200. It was quite
yeah,
on a single contract. That was quite a loss, and you might lose that 4 points multiple times during the day, and you mightn't be making
yeah,
it. And it was really quite and that it really injected you with fear when I started off with the S trading, like because you couldn't adjust your risk to what you felt like. You had this starting risk, and that was it, and there was nothing you could do about it. Like it was. But one of the other things I think now it isn't absolutely. There's way more resources and opportunities now. I find for people like if they're coming into the business, but the problem is that they have a real problem in picking what resources to use because there is an awful lot of rubbish out and about for trading. And it's not if you look at YouTube and you look at half the stuff that you do see in YouTube, there's a lot of stuff in it that's just factually incorrect. You cannot make money doing that. You cannot make money doing these systems. There's a lot of more scammery trainee trader people, people that you see that, before your YouTube video comes up on trading that you're watching, you'll get some guy coming in and saying, this is my big house and my Ferrari and my airplane or my helicopter, whatever it is.
yeah, yeah.
And they're paying for that second house because you're paying for their courses and they're not making money in trading. They're not and never did make money in trading. Um,
Mhm.
so it's a lot of it is it's really difficult. It's really and then you see guys that are on YouTube who are actually have really good stuff. Like there are some traders that you come across that have quite good content on YouTube that's actionable. You could take it away and learn something, and they have no views because people don't know the difference. You can't quality
Yeah.
control the difference. And I'm sure that's the same with everything. If you went into, I don't know, car maintenance or something, I'm sure there are really good content creators and really bad content creators. But that's a real problem, I think, with for newer people is to find that. There's actually I'm just looking up at the bookshelf there and all the classic stuff. And that was all you had, and that's what all everybody had when I started. Now you have the universe of things to pick from.
You do.
And I
You
think
do.
if,
And
yeah, and I think that if, again, it'd be one of the great things, hopefully, about our podcast in the future is that there should be good content that's actionable and they should be able to take it away and do something with it.
totally, yeah,
Something.
totally. Or actually, if they are in a little bit of a dark hole to actually find to realize that we've been through all sorts. Okay, we've seen
Mm,
it, we've experienced it,
mm,
and realized how you can get out of it. But yeah, on that point there and stuff, the in terms of choosing the right material, I always remember a quote from the late great Dr. David Paul, who was also another trading buddy of mine for about 10, 15 years and stuff,
mm,
who sadly passed away last year. God rest
mm.
his soul. It's right when he says that people would sooner be entertained rather than educated,
Yeah.
and it's sadly it's true. In the kind of the battle between style over substance,
Mm.
YouTube is full of people who have got a lot of style, but very little substance in terms of understanding what they're doing or actually having had the experience of being knocked about a bit and actually being able to come out of it the other side, and
Mhm.
developed and built that kind of inner self-belief and self
Now, this is one of the
confidence.
great things of working at home is
There we go. There we
there
go.
you go.
And to the
Hello, you're on YouTube again,
traders,
Joe. What's up with you? Yeah.
There you go. There's
There's a
the
phone call. All right, I'll deal with it later on, Jeff.
Okay.
See you later.
see you
So
later,
you're
fella.
on your way out, will
The
you?
next McFadden super trader. That's what it
Yeah,
is and stuff. There you go.
yeah. Yes,
Perfect.
he'll
Something.
be sitting on my knee now at some stage in the near future, learning how to do out his technical analysis.
I have been saying it to my godchildren as well and stuff, trying to get them into it because my view is that all of the I haven't met many natural traders, and I don't consider
Mm,
myself a natural trader. I consider something
mm,
a skill I've had to work at to acquire.
mm,
But quite a few of the successful traders I've met are the kids of traders,
mm,
or they are the kids of people who worked in financial markets in one form or
mm,
another, and so they kind of grew up around it, and they whether they were formally trained or whether they just picked up about osmosis, they are comfortable in understanding financial markets and stuff,
mm.
and so if it's Joe, is it Joe? Joe,
Joe, yeah,
your lad's name. Yeah,
yeah.
if that's the path he chooses to go down, well then he's got
Mm.
no better mentor than his dad and stuff. So
No,
yeah,
yeah.
so that probably kind of is kind of a nice point for us to sort of
Hmm.
draw to a close ourselves and stuff in terms of hopefully people have got a little bit of insight into why they should listen to the TOGS podcast, all right? Because we have
Hmm.
been around the block, we have been knocked about, okay? We've
Hmm.
had successes, we've had failures, right? And and we can kind of call it as it is. We're quite happy to talk about our own particular challenges and failures, and we'll also
Hmm.
talk about solutions, also talk about ways that traders can get better. And so the kind of I think the next session TP2 will be on. We thought we'd talk about what do you need to do to make 2024 your best trading year. Okay,
Hmm.
and so we can just talk about things that we have done in the past, things we'll be doing
Hmm.
ourselves going forward and stuff. So
Hmm.
look out for that in a week's time. Okay, we're going to try and do this every week, all right, and
Hmm.
see how we can manage with that. So any final points, Ian? Any final
Not that I
comments?
can think of now at the moment. Hopefully I can go and bribe my son now to do something with more biscuits and cartoons. But he's at home today with the little illness, so I had to keep him home this morning. So, and I have it now myself. That's probably why I look a bit red-eyed and tired at the moment. So it's
Why are you letting him watch your cartoons? You should be getting him out there learning about Fibonacci ratios and stuff.
I think
Get him started.
he will in time. I can guarantee you that, to be quite honest with you, because they're like sponges. I mean, it's amazing
Yeah,
what
that's
they're
it.
because you could literally sit them down and you could literally get them into through a sort of a reward thing into trading quite quickly, you know. But would you, well, it's the whole thing. Would you want to in some ways? Because the other thing with it as well as teaching them, you could easily turn out a 17-year-old kid with the ability to make $1 million a year, and then how are you supposed to deal with that? That's a parenting problem, you know.
Yeah,
So, you know,
nice problem
there's
to have.
there's a lot of things you could be doing with that. Although, I mean, that's a very first world problem if your child is making a
Yeah,
million.
very, very first world. Very first world.
But anyway, yes, I suppose we draw to a close.
Yes. Grand. All right. Well, listen, thanks for joining in. Thanks for those of you who've stuck to the end and watched and listened. All right. As
Yeah.
always, we'll put a contact email address if you've got any
Hmm.
comments or thoughts or feedback. We really appreciate it. If you want to give us suggestions for future sessions, by all means, we're very,
Hmm.
very happy to take that on board. And we'll put our contact details there. Ian has a Facebook page and stuff that you can join if you so wish. And
Hmm.
yeah, all right. We'll see you on the next TOGS Trading Podcast. Okay.
Okay.
Till
Thank
next
you very
week.
much.
Cheers,
Bye.
everybody. Thanks.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.